our kids. I'm going to ask Mr. Butel, our athletic director, or Mr. Torgrosso, are you here, to bring in our Winter High Honor athletes. I think they're organizing them outside. Mr. Butel, we're ready.
Good evening. Good evening, President Scavo, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Pelletieri, members of our administrative cabinet. Tonight we have some honors here of our student athletes from the winter season. Took us a little while to compile information as we were waiting for all the honors to be recognized throughout the year. So we're going to go through and we're going to call the teams and the student athletes that received honors of all county or higher. As always, we have a pretty extensive list. And as I go through the list and call your name, will student athletes just walk up here in front of the stage? All right. Our first team we want to recognize from Sachem East is our cheerleading team. They were a scholar athlete team. And here is Casey Berger, all Long Island second team. Morgan Reed, all county. And Brianna Schneider, all county. From our Sachem East girls basketball team, also a scholar athlete team and co-league champions, Alexis Berger, all conference, all county. From girls winter track, Abby Callanan, all county, all state, and a state champion, and a New Balance All-American. Gianna Mori, all county. I'm changing the lineup, give me a second. And from our Sachem North High School for cheerleading, we have Madison Bozzoni, all county. Adriana Sigler, all county. Our boys basketball team, Chris Lowley. Our girls winter track team, Kaylee Mayer, all county. Wrestling from Sachem North, Will Siegel, all county. And now our combined teams, boys bowling, also a scholar athlete team, league champions as well. Matthew Dramaldi, all county, all Long Island. And from our boys swimming team, Francis Anderson, all state. Ian May, all state. And from our girls bowling team, Sierra Archangel, all county, all Long Island. And those are our all county and higher athletes here from the winter season who are here with us tonight. Congratulations to all of you. If any coaches are here, can please walk up, I'd like to take a picture. I saw Mr. Young.
We need you guys to squeeze it real tight. Anyone can come in front. That would be awesome. Okay, you guys can look right here at me first, and I'll step out of the way.
Just hang out here.
Congratulations to our athletes and our coaches and their families. Mr. Torgrosa?
I'm going to present the two teams.
Excellent.
Okay, good evening, Dr. Pellettieri, Cabinet, and Board of Education. Thank you for recognizing the Sachem East girls basketball team. The girls finished the season with a 13-3 league record and a 15-5 overall. This league title is Sachem East's ninth since the school opened in 2004, and it's their first since 2014. The highlight of the season was beating our rival William Floyd 44-22 in the late season after losing to them by 27 at their place earlier in the season. This win helped clinch the league title. The girls went on to earn the 5 seed in the playoffs, which is their highest seed since 2014. These girls helped to ensure that the program's home playoff winning streak continued by beating Smithtown West in the first round. The streak now stands at 20 games. Tonight we have captains Abby Morangello, Alexis Berger, Madeline Barone, and Coach Tom Erb to be honored. Do you want me to finish with them? Do them? Next, I'd like to present the Sachem Boys Bowling Team, Captain Matt Grimaldi. Just a brief about the season. The Sachem Boys bowling team had an extremely successful season, being named a Scholar Athlete team by New York State and winning a league championship. The team finished with a 1,036 team average, which was second in the county, and they also finished second at the Section 11 County Championship for the second consecutive season.
Can I have everyone take a step to the right just so the speakers know? Thank you. Great, thanks.
This young man just, I think, fibbed to me. How many 300 games do you have? How many 300 games do you have? 27. That cannot be true. You're not supposed to lie to the superintendent. 27 300 games. If I bowled 27 games, it wouldn't add up to 300. That's amazing. Congratulations. Wow. Extremely successful young man there. And now we're going to introduce an extremely successful group. Our Sachem Flaming Arrows Marching Band. Are they going to be playing as they come in, directed by Mr. Carroll? Come on down. So I apologize. It took us a while to get this group in. It is a large group, and we had to reserve an auditorium to get it available to get them here. So thank you so much, Mr. Carroll. Still waiting, right? They're still coming in.
All right, I think that's everybody. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to the Sachem Board of Education, the Board of Education, everybody who made this possible. I'm going to turn around because this feels weird. I really want to thank you for making this happen. When we won back in the fall, I understand it was just how do we get everybody into one spot? And we just kept going back and forth, and we finally made it happen to recognize everyone in the band, and we truly appreciate the efforts for that. So thank you so much. So I'm filling in for right now. I'm the director of the 2023 Sachem Marching Band. However, the director of the 2022 Marching Band is the much less talented Tom Carroll. I can only say that because he's not here right now. No, the very talented Tom Carroll, who was the director of this band for 4 years. He is now the director of bands over at Patchogue Medford, where he is directing that marching band and is basically the me of Pat Med, and had to step down this year. Also, he decided to selfishly have a baby, the nerve of him. So because of this, he has decided to step down. He's hoping to make it for pictures. He's coming directly from their graduation, which was moved to today. He found this out 4 hours ago. So he's going to try and make it here. So I'm going to announce our 2022 state champion, Sachem Flaming Arrows Marching Band. First, we have our drum major, Mr. Jay Greengold. Jay, we're going to walk and go right to the other side, and then we'll do a picture, I guess, right in front, if that's okay. Sounds good? Congratulations.
You could fill the stage with them. Why don't we fill the stage? Come on up.
All right, sounds good. So once you're announced, I'm just going to call the names right now because I'm going to screw this up. Let's see. I'm just going to go by section. We have Sydney Lau on flute. Gianna Marchese, field major. Kayla Smith. Yep, you can come by. Shake hands. There you go. Finn Sabansky. Gabe Cortez. Corey Gonzalez. Kylie Hughes. Field major Ryan Panzarino. Ethan Francelot. Field major Sophia Berkowitz. Our prop coordinator, Kira Muno. Vincent Grippo. Christian Rinaldi. Jaden Rudnicki. Alex Arns. Sarah Baker. Dean Halpin. Field major Dylan McKay. Amanda Morta. Josh Proscia. Haley Schreiber. Owen Kavanaugh. Timothy Kelch. Abigail Finn. Megan Martinek. Jose Souza. Josie Verisco. Dominic Paleo. Brett Oricchio. Jacob Walla. Anthony John AJ Carrion. Alessia Messina. Drumline captain Amanda Panzarino. Matthew Rincon. Armand Sandu. Paul Spano. Andre Chicano. Johan Chicano. Anna Darkangelis. Yolatzen Flores Granados. Sorry. Caitlin Gomez. Sam McCullough. Gianna Rincon. Michael Rusinos. Dex Vetter. Our front ensemble captain, Dex Vetter. Thank you very much. Kimberly Barbaro. Jillian Bernstein. James Corsi. Jacqueline DiMaria. Jennifer Fields. Emma Fonseca. Color guard captain Haley Gulick. Color guard captain Johanna Hovanek. Holly Muno. Gianna Perez. Lex Rudolph. Brooke Tate. Anastasia Sanchez. Michelle Skonieczna. I practiced that for 5 minutes. I'd like to take this opportunity to also recognize the staff that was very integral in this state championship performance. The director was the aforementioned, very talented, handsome as ever, Mr. Thomas Carroll. The coordinator is myself, Mr. Michael Carroll. The assistant director, Noreen Lanasa. The assistant coordinator, Mr. Rob Flayhaven. Drumline instructor, Mr. Taylor Jones. Color guard instructor, Mr. James Christou. Color guard instructor, Mr. Nick Ashley. Percussion instructor, Shocky Malik. Front ensemble instructor, Miss Maria Alvarado. Front ensemble and drill assistant, Mr. Michael Turi. And our drill writer, Mr. Ian Flint. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2022 Large School 3 State Champion, Sachem Flaming Arrows Marching Band. Sure. The director of the 2022 State Champion Sachem Flaming Arrows Marching Band, new father and time traveler, Mr. Thomas Carroll.
I'd be remiss if we did not mention the parents as well, who are part of the marching band, very much a part day in and day out of what the marching band does. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the invites and the support. Congratulations.
And an extra special thank you to the Sachem Marching Band Parent Alliance. Thank you so much for all of your hard work.
Congratulations once again. Good to see you, Mr. Carroll. Glad you made it. Both of you. What I'd like to also do at this time is to transition to what's really a bittersweet moment for us in the Sachem family. And that is when the folks we know and love for many years tell us it is time to take a different path, and they go off to a second life and another adventure. And Mrs. Capel Eden is going to read the names of, I believe we have several of our retirees here tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Pelletieri. So each year we invite our retirees, anyone who's retired from the start of the school year, July, until the end of the school year, which for some of you has not happened yet. Just a few more days, and then you will be joining the ranks as retirees from Sachem. I do see some Sachem retirees out here who continue to come back year after year, right, Mr. Young? Nice to see you. I'm going to be reading names aloud. I'm going to ask for anyone who is here to come up and just celebrate you with a few words as you come up. What you should know about our staff here in Sachem is we have folks from all sorts of positions across the district, from bus drivers, keeping our students safe getting to and from school, food service workers and cooks for nourishing, administrative staff for leadership in the buildings, security, psychologists, social workers, grounds, teachers, TAs, aides. I'll continue to say that each one of us is part of what takes a village to make sure that our students get all the support that they need and make sure that things that are going on behind the scenes and right there in the classroom go on to make sure every student gets what they need, and we are a team. So we'd like to celebrate you. And again, I'm going to ask if you could just come up and we'll just say a few words. Gary Biancardi. So Gary, although he's not here, and I wasn't planning on saying words for anyone who wasn't here, we do know that he is the individual who has the most number of years in the district retiring this year. He has 43 years and close to another year. So Gary, we just celebrate you and thank you for all of your years of service. I'm going to move on to Mary Jane Bocafola, who's in the front here. Mary Jane, come on up. So Mary Jane is a school psychologist. I had the pleasure of working with her when I was at North. For many of you, you may not know, some of the support staff behind the scenes are in and out of classrooms and in the hallways and doing lots of things that go on, just in form of support to students and staff. Mary Jane is student-centered. She's grounded. She's driven. She's a team player. She's patient and she's kind. She's professional. She advocates and supports our students through some of the most challenging situations, as well as their families over the years. If you could write a book of all the things that from the first day you came in to where you are now as you move through. I'm sure you would be amazed at yourself and all the things that you've done for others. You are you have an incredible sense of humor, and our team will never be the same without you. Congratulations, Mary Jane. I'm going to ask you to stay here. You'll have some friends to join you. John Bree, he's in facilities as a groundskeeper. Tracy Brennan, a teacher assistant. Pat Butera, school communication aide. Diana Carone, a senior office assistant who retired from my office in personnel. Terry Chavarro, I see you over to the right. Come on up. So Terry has recently retired from a security position here in the district, but what you don't know is she has been in many roles here with us over the 16 years and change that she's been with us. She was a part-time clerical and registration, greeting families and students as they came to join the Sachem family. She was in the child care program, making sure that everybody had the supports they needed for whether it's a before or after care, to make sure our families had what they needed and the students had recreation and academic support. She was also working in the capacity of navigating things outside of that in a dental office. We talked about that often. And she's an incredible person. Her heart is bigger than you can imagine. She is a person who lights up when she speaks about her own children, her son, the boys, right? 2 boys. And she is a grandmother. And she's looking forward to spending her time with her children and her grandchildren. And another little juicy tidbit is she has the best vintage car. So we look forward to seeing Terry.
36 Chevy.
And it is beautiful. Have you taken her around the neighborhood?
I have.
So we're looking forward to seeing.
But I do. Yes.
Very good. We look forward to seeing you cruise around with the sun in your face and enjoy your retirement. And thank you. Time flies when you're having fun, Terry.
Unbelievable. Thank you.
Jose Cruz, assistant principal. Loretta Desniski, hearing impaired teacher. Jane Dreyer, special education teacher. Diane Fasano, office assistant at North. Ed Ferraro, custodian. Susan Fetke, clerical, most recently in security. Elizabeth Genosa, we go by Betsy. Donna Gianfortone, she's an elementary teacher here at Chippewa. Donna Gregory, another assistant principal retiring from Sagamore. Christine Gunzel, teaching assistant from Tamarack. Al Hank in security. Tracy Henry, custodian. Sean Holden, see you back there. So Sean is not only an exceptional teacher and educator retiring from East, but he's also a coach. So we did a little digging. We found a couple morsels. All good stuff. Is it true you're a magician?
On occasion. My next big one trick will be to disappear on Friday. How's that?
All right. So Sean is one of those teachers that students are excited to have when they learn that they have Mr. Holden as a teacher. He's also someone who I found a juicy tidbit from the custodians that you always, that's right. You always have some little thing to make sure to recognize everyone for all of their hard work and their dedication. They feel like they're a part of the team. They are a part of the team. You're a part of the team. We're all a part of that team. And you make education exciting for our students. You are a science teacher who is looking forward to exploring your next adventure, as was said, to spend quality time with your wife, Jan, hiking in some national parks. That's beautiful. And traveling to spots on the globe you have not yet seen. And spending time with family and friends. Congratulations and thank you for all of your years and dedication to Sachem students. Pat Kelly, school communication aide. Lori Kilinowski, teacher assistant. Nora Klaus, speech teacher. Hi, Nora. Come on up. All right. So, some words that define Nora from some of her most coveted coworkers over at Merrimack. And Ms. Tucci is there. And we do have other administrators joining us to celebrate retirees as well. She's a gentle and a caring speech and language educator and a therapist and colleague. Always the biggest smile on her face, which you have right now. Probably hard to contain it right now, right? You apparently are recognized for making excellent cricket gifts. Is that true?
Oh, I'm at war with my cricket machine. I hate it.
Apparently, you're recognized for doing a really great job with it. So you're mastering that. Maybe you have a little more time to work on that too. You have been known as the best dressed in the building, as well as recognizing you in your upcoming retirement. We understand that you plan on going to Ireland to travel, spending time with your sons and your family. And we thank you for everything you've done for our students, for speech and language in all capacities. Congratulations. You're welcome. Jean Kapaska, she's also a clerical in our district. Rhonda Kravitz, who's a teacher assistant. Paulette Lane, she's a food service worker who's over at North. Loretta Latari, a clerical over in special education. Jacqueline Lorenz, another food service worker. Valerie Lyons, a school teacher aide. Eva Maldonado, a school teacher aide. Christine Mathosian, she's a clerical who's in the payroll office and benefits. Dennis McElhern, who's an administrator in special education. Jim McLean. Jim is a groundskeeper who is there as part of the team, making sure we have everything we need for our buildings. Lori Medic, a visually impaired teacher. That's a tough one as well, right? You know, to help our youngsters who have some of the most significant needs. Jeannie Meehan is a cook over at North. Barbara Monty. Right, there you go, Mark. Okay. So Barbara is over at Merrick as a school teacher aide. And so for those of you who don't know the role of what an aide has on a typical basis, it's from soup to nuts. So over the course of your years here, which is approximately 24 years, that's a lot of time, you have helped guide students in special education or K aid capacity, where they're coming in for their first opportunity to be behind the desk as a kindergartner, going through all those milestones. And then when you have to wipe the tears, mostly of the parents going from kindergarten to first grade, right? As they're singing their kindergarten graduation song. So you are known over at Merrimack as a mom / grandmother of the building. And you are also known as a flagpole walker dismissal duty staff member extraordinaire. I'm sure. What is that?
I dismissed the children to the flagpole for their parents.
Okay.
I watch for buses. We got a bus. We got a bus.
I'm sure with many youngsters cruising around, you have to have eyes on all sides of your body. Do you?
Yes, yes, I do. And they believe that I do. They certainly believe that I do.
And they'll believe you now because it's out on YouTube. So in addition to that, we understand that you're looking forward to spending some time with your adorable granddaughter, Amelia. And you're a knitter and a crocheter. And you've been known to make some extraordinary gifts for others.
Yes, I do. Yes, I certainly do.
So may you enjoy the time that you have remaining here in Sachem. Thank you for everything you've done for our little ones, our family, and our community. Congratulations to you. Roseanne Olson. Roseanne Olson is also a special education teacher. Frank Panassi, principal over at Sagamore. Elizabeth Riley. She's a teaching assistant as well. Donna Lee Cully. She's an office assistant. Latrice Riggio. She's a teacher assistant at Seneca. Victor Rondinella, a bus driver and transportation. Camille Rubino, a teacher assistant. It's a lot of names, right? Laura Sager, you're over to the right. Come on up. So Laura is one of our most coveted higher level clericals in the business office. She's been in district office for many years. She has 19 years and change. One of her most significant roles more recently has been in a treasurer capacity, which also is a very important job to make sure all of our checks and balances are done. If there's one thing that anyone who knows Laura knows, she's a detail girl. She is thorough, she's dependable, she's a salt of the earth, she's genuine, she's a lady. She is exceptional, and we wish you all the best in your retirement with your time, to spend time with your husband and your family in your retirement. And we thank you for everything that you've done through the years. Congratulations. Mary Ellen Scarola. So Mary Ellen Scarola is joining us up here as a teacher assistant, but she's held several roles within the district. I've gotten to know Mary Ellen quite well over the years in various capacities. In addition to being a teacher assistant, working with youngsters in the special education department, often in the middle school for many, many years, she's also been on the leadership team as a vice president, working with the SCTA, supporting folks in SRP level, navigating labor relations issues when we come up. We've always worked together incredibly. You've been an excellent partner and collaborator throughout your time here. We've always been able to work really significantly well to help folks as we move along. She was most recently recognized by NYSUT. She received the NYSUT Suffolk Regional Award from the Regional Suffolk office, and also the School-Related Professional Outstanding Service Award. She was recognized for 20 years of service through the SCTA. We know that you look forward to having the time to spend your time with your children and your grandchildren, and we look forward to hearing all the juicy tidbits and good things that are going on. And congratulations, Mary. All right, congratulations. Ellen Scher, School Media Specialist. Mark Shellhouse, Custodian. Susan Semestis, another school teacher aide. Janet Tedeschi, she's a school communication aide as well. Victoria Torquata, a food service worker in our north location. Lorraine Vasta, senior office assistant, also in security. So security's had a few things going on this year. We also have Evelyn Viscardi, an elementary teacher over at Linwood. And last but certainly not least, Walter Wood, who's one of our custodians here who retired this year and relocated coming from Samoset District Office. So on behalf of everyone in our school community, our students, our parents, our community members, I know our board stands behind everything that you've done to say thank you, and thank you to your family and friends. May you enjoy every single moment of health, happiness, and all the memories of the great things you've done to help students get to where they need to be. Congratulations, retirees. We will have certificates for you as well, and the Board of Education is just recognizing you. If we could just snap a picture. If we could ask you to come on up.
So retirees, thank you once again to you and your families for the gift you've given us for many years, and that is the gift of your time. Thank you so much. And you'll always be a member of the Sachem family. Remember that. Thank you. And Miss Capel Eden, thank you. That was very thoughtful and heartfelt. You have a future in that, I think, if you ever think
All
about
right,
it.
so I guess I'm going to return tomorrow then. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome back tomorrow. Again, thank you. Well done. That concludes my superintendent's report, Mr. Scavo.
Thank you, Dr. Pelletieri. Okay, we don't have our student board members here for reports, so we're going to go to item D, approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 14th. Okay, so, Meredith Volpe, second by Laura Slattery. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Our visitor section, we only have one visitor tonight. Mr. Vaccaro, you want to come up?
Thank you, Dr. Pelletieri, members of the cabinet, Mr. Scavo, and the board. It's always good to be here. What a festive, spirited night where I hear we say Sachem flaming arrows as we address our teams, our student athletes, our teachers, our retirees who have made a difference in the lives of our students. Those words matter, Sachem flaming arrows. So I'm here just to advocate, as you all know, on behalf of the Alumni Association, our 60,000 alumni, and the people who really care about this logo and what it means and what it stands for. Just in case there's a resolution voted on tonight by the board. So preemptively, too bad we didn't do this before the crowd left, though. I would like to address the group. What do we know? We know that there's been no formal complaints on record in the last 23 years about the name, the logo, or the image. And I know that because of the Freedom of Information request that I put through for the governor, the Department of Education, and the school district. We know there are several Native Americans and groups that support the name, the use, the colors, and the purpose of it, Sachem and flaming arrows and the arrowhead logo. So we also know our tradition, our heritage, who we are as a community matter. So if there's a resolution at all tonight, I would suggest to preserve our Sachem heritage and tradition is the resolution. To educate students further on Native American culture and to make sure there's actually days of dialogue with Native Americans to come to our community and in our school building. So if there's any resolution, it's to enhance communication, enhance education, and preserve our history and identity. That's really the message that I've been saying for months as all this came randomly, it seems like, from the state, which, by the way, it's unfair to you as administrators, as board leaders, to be threatened with state aid, to be threatened with your job. So you're in an unfair position that they put you in. But our community supports your volunteerism, all the things that you do for our community, but our community stands for something, and it's what we've built over the last 65 plus years with the Sachem Flaming Arrows name and our logo. So before there's any resolutions tonight, I just wanted to have that on record on behalf of the Alumni Association that our name, our history matter. I appreciate your time, all the effort that you put into our community, and hopefully there's some decisions that are made that push us forward, but remember who we are. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vaccaro. No other business, okay. Okay, brings us to item 4, business items. We have a consent agenda A through G. I need a motion, please. Ms. Stephanie Volpe, second by Mr. Reynolds. Any questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, item 5 is personnel, consent agenda A through J for teachers. A motion, please. Ms. Iserdi, second by Ms. Slattery. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 6 brings us to page 10. We have a consent agenda A through I, which is personnel agenda for support staff. I need a motion, please. Ms. Slattery, second by Ms. Stephanie Volpe. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 7 is on bottom of page 13. In a motion for personnel items, For administration, consent agenda A through E. Any motion, Ms. Isernia, second by Mr. Reynolds. Questions or discussions on these items? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, item 8 is on the top of page 15. It was a little tricky to find that one. We have a consent agenda for contracts A through J. Any motion, please? Okay, Ms. Isernia, second. Ms. Stephanie Volpe. Okay. Questions or discussions? Okay. Ms. Volpe?
On F, Ronkonkoma Family Medicine, do we know who the doctors are there?
I know it's a host of several doctors, correct, Ms. Sarakis? Is that the name of the doctor's office, Ronkonkoma Family
Yeah,
Medicine?
That's the medical group, and that agreement is for new employee physicals, student sport physicals, bus driver, their 19A testing, things of that nature. It's not for the district physician that gets appointed on the reorg agenda.
Meredith, questions answered? Okay. Any other questions regarding contracts? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 9 is donations. I need a motion for a donation from Waverly Elementary School. Ms. Pickowitz, I need a second. Okay, Mr. Reynolds, questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank
Get a
you.
letter out to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10, Committee on Special Education, consent agenda A and B. I need a motion, please. All right, Ms. Meredith Volpe, second by Ms. Isernia. Questions or discussions? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 11 is monthly reports. Any updates from board members or liaisons? Stephanie? Just is your mic on, Steph?
There's a committee meeting, I believe it's Monday, for shared events and field trips and stuff. I asked Laura if she could attend for me because I'm going to be away.
Okay. That's the field trip committee? For the-
I forget the exact name of it. It's not field trip, it's shared. What's the name of the committee? Common activities.
Okay.
We have another meeting on Tuesday, actually.
Tuesday.
Tuesday the
I was wrong.
27th,
It's Tuesday.
June 27th.
I'm
Are
gonna
you
be in
still away,
California.
Stephanie, for that?
I'm sorry,
Are
I'm
you
not
still
here.
away?
Huh?
Now that it's Tuesday, you still away for it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be in Disney land.
Okay. Any other monthly reports on any of the committees? All right, no. All right, closing public comment. Any visitors? Any cards? Randy? No visitors? Okay, old business. Let's turn it over to Dr. Pelletieri. We had a discussion, and we asked him to come back with some resolutions for the Regents grade policy, as well as potential mascot resolution. Let's turn it over to Dr. Pelletieri.
Thank you very much. In terms of our Regents grades policy, I was asked to go back and work with our staff to look at numbers of students that failed classes due to the fact that we applied a 10% portion of their final grade from a Regents result. So we went back in 2018, 2019 was the last time we had a full year unblemished in terms of kids taking Regents. In 2018, 2019, we had 241 students that failed Regents and failed classes. Of those 241, only 2 were passing until the Regents was applied. And then because we had applied that 10%, they ended up failing their class. So that was what you guys had asked me to discuss. That is something that I'd like to go back and offer as a resolution at this late date to, if we're going to tweak anything in terms of what it is that we do. Again, school ends Friday, the school year. Regents are being scored now. What I would propose is that, and we talked about this briefly last time, any student who would fail their course because of the application of the 10% of the Regents, we would remove that and score the kids based on their four quarters and their midterm only, not apply the Regents as that final 10%. And again, it's very, very small numbers.
Questions or discussions on the board? All right, Ms. Volpe?
I have a fairly official, unofficial list that 50 other school districts on Long Island do this. So
They do
that's
this
helpful.
as well? Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And I would also offer that we really examine this, kind of jump in early next year. I know we talked about it this year, briefly, early this year, we came to a conclusion. We decided to revisit it. It is at a later time, so I would offer that we jump in, administrators, parents, board, and really take it apart and look at it and come up with something early next year that we would apply and hold instead.
Any other comments on the board? Ms. Slattery?
I think Alex may have had his hand up first.
Oh, I'm sorry,
but-
Alex.
Okay, so again, I would agree with this policy for this time, but I am still adamant that there are many districts across Long Island that don't include the regions as part of the percentage for the final grade for various different reasons. And also I had brought up, I think it was either October, November, to look at how we score our GPAs, just to have a more consistent policy, a policy that everybody understands, and to look across other districts and see what they're doing. If high-performing schools, I know just of Rosalind and Jericho, because I reached out to those schools because I know people, aren't including regions, then, and it's not affecting their teachers, then why would it affect our teachers here? You know, if you need to pass a Regents to get a diploma, I would think you're trying for a Regents. So that's something that I agree that we would need to explore, but I'm fine with as long as we're not failing a student based on including a Regents. I would be agreeable to that for this year.
Alex?
I appreciate you going back and looking, and I tend to agree with Laura and Stephanie and everybody else, but I don't see how it's now fair to a kid, let's say he has a 90, who gets the 10% off, and now he's went from an A to a B, and that same kid, we have to look in the face at the grocery store and say, well, Johnny we made sure that, you know, the 10% didn't affect him, but it did affect you. How do we justify that? I don't see it. So I'm not on board. I think the kids took all their Regents, right? It's over. I don't think we're worried about it at this point. So I think we should just go back and tell them, do not add it. You know, if we're not worried about it, then we're not worried about it. I mean, we shouldn't do for some and not for all. Whatever we're going to do, it should be for everybody. And that's just my personal opinion.
Okay.
And to further Alex's point, so that's where the do no harm policy comes in. If it's going to help a student, we should include it. If it's going to hurt and bring down their grade, we shouldn't include it. That covers all students. And that's pretty simple.
Dr. Pelletier.
Thank you. Yes, this would apply to everyone this year. Anyone who takes the test and then therefore fails the Regents, it would apply to them if they in fact were going to fail the course. It would be a blanket, you know, for all students. So all students have the opportunity to potentially utilize this policy. Not all students, you're right, are failing their course
Yeah,
at this
my
time.
my concern is that we're competing with neighboring school districts to apply for the same colleges. And now we went from a 90 to an 85, and that other school district that's not doing this still has a 90. Now our kids are not competing on a level playing field. And I just,
Some kids' scores can go up as well.
yeah, but yeah, so we should just do that. I mean, if we're going to do it, let's just do it. It should count if it's a positive. It should not count if it's not. Let's just be doing the same for every single kid.
Meredith?
That was what I was going to say. If it enhances their grade, great. If it doesn't enhance their grade in any way, no matter whether it's bringing them to a failing point or not, I think that we need to do away with it. And I don't think just for this year. I know we have to revisit it, but the school year is going to come upon us. And if we're going to say that Regents won't count towards their final grade at all, we need to get on board with that immediately, because those classes will then need to give final exams.
Stephanie?
My list just went up to 51 because of Laura. She got a school I didn't have on my list. But do no harm is exactly what the 51 are doing, or completely not counting the Regents, depending on what school it is and depending on if it's a private or a public school. It seems to be that the higher achieving school districts are following the state guidance and not counting them. So what does that mean for the perception of a lower achieving school district, right? Because we're really not in the same playing field, correct? And then we have a lot of people who are saying that, well, a lot of students who have been reporting that the Regents isn't matching what's being taught in the classroom, and they're being blindsided when they're taking the test. Is that fair for them, even an honor student, to lose 10 points on their grade because they were blindsided by stuff they weren't even taught?
Mr. Reynolds?
No, just agreeing with everything that's been said here, right? If we're going to do a do no harm, it should be across the board.
So yes, do no harm is different than what I'm proposing now.
Right, because you're
Yep.
proposing if they're failing, but
Yes.
to Alex's point, if it takes them from an A to a B, that's harming the student, right?
My concern is that we had this discussion publicly several months ago, settled on the policy that we have now. And now teachers are already, I would think, I see Mr. Barbera sitting there, sorry, Mr. Barbera, putting in their grades and already may have these calculations in there at this point.
I mean, look, I'll weigh in and say, I think it's very late this year. I think what needs to happen, and I said it last week, there needs to be accountability. In my 31 years in education, my experience has been is that when you don't count something, kids don't take it as serious as if you do count something. And I'm basing that on my years of experience as an educator. During COVID, when we stopped counting final exams and we stopped counting certain things, kids just kind of threw the white towel in. And I don't want it to happen. I want to make sure that, and I agree, I'm just to set the record straight, I am very anti-Regents. I don't think anybody's scores, academic grade should be based on a test that's not created within the district. So I would venture, and I would certainly make a motion that we open up negotiations with our SCTA. Okay, we create localized final exams that our teachers can create by our department chairs, that are fair, that are honest, that are not tricky, okay, that are not one-sided, and we use those exams instead of a Regents exam, an exam that's not written within the district. Look, I polled my kids today. I know several board members polled their kids today, and there were concerns about the Algebra 2, the Algebra 1 Regents. I know we got some feedback from the department chair, but at this point in time, I mean, look, in my district, we use a software called RightPath. It's an online program where you actually put the end of the year grades in, and it calculates, okay, the teacher's performance score. So to pull the plug right now, okay, opposed to what Dr. Pelletieri is proposing, I think for this year, we don't harm the kids that are going to fail that course this year. And then next year, we look to change those requirements and submit the application to the state for approval. And hopefully APPR is on its way out, with the new governor. To reinvent the wheel on June 21st, I think is going to be difficult. And it's just my own personal opinion. But, as a teacher also, you want to be able to assess what knowledge is learned. And if we don't start counting and holding kids accountable for even just localized final exams, we're setting the bar low. We are. Because when they go out into the real world, regardless of what they want to do, from a garbage man to a fireman to a postman, they're going to have to take a test. And when they get to college, they're going to have to take tests to be successful. So that's just my opinion. I mean, certainly it'll be a board decision tonight as to how we proceed. I'm with Laura.
Okay, so I'm not saying to not count the test. I'm saying we want all our kids to try and succeed on the test. But what I'm saying is if it harms the student, you don't count it. So students are still trying, I'm not saying, but again, our special ed students are still required to take Regents. And it's not, Rob, that they're not trying, it's that it's above what they can take. And I've always said our teachers are the only ones who know how to correctly assess our students. And that's something I've said for the past 10 years. And we're fighting to bring back local diplomas. We're fighting to get rid of Regents and standardized testing. And yet we're willing to hurt our own students when surrounding districts are not doing that. So I believe in holding students accountable. I've held my own children more accountable than anybody else. But taking tests that are not fair to those students, I don't agree is holding them accountable. I think it's just unfair.
Meredith?
So to your point, yes, we've had a lot of feedback. We've had feedback from children who already struggle, saying they struggled once again. We've had feedback from children who are excellent students saying, yeah, it was rough. And we had feedback from a department chair saying that the feedback from the teachers was that they agreed it was a more difficult exam than they have seen in several years. Coming off of COVID, giving them a more difficult exam than they have seen in years and then counting it towards their grade, no matter if they're the highest achieving student in the class or the lowest achieving student in the class, if it's going to do them harm, there were 241 kids in a before COVID ever existed, 241 kids were harmed. Yes, 2 of them failed, but 241 of them were harmed by it. We don't want to harm any of our children. On top of that, how can we sit here and say that we are that we're trying to push our kids to the best of their abilities when we're not on a level playing field, when our surrounding districts are not counting the regions? So our children are actually performing better than any of us realize on a whole level because we count these extremely difficult exams as 10% of their grade. So it's not behooving the school district, it's not behooving the children. I'm sorry if I love our teachers, and I'm sorry if it does make their life a little more difficult at the bottom of the ninth, but I really feel like we need to make a motion tonight to put in a do no harm at this late hour. I'm sorry, and I will make a motion to put that in.
We don't do motions on the floor. We take a leaning, okay, and give direction to administration. But we don't do motions on the floor. We established this last year. But
Is it that we don't do it because it's against
because
rules?
it was advised by New York State that you have to give the community an opportunity to see it on an agenda so they can speak out about it. That's why.
Okay, because I was not aware of that, because I was told when I did that once before by NISBA that I was allowed to do that.
Yeah, we had this conversation.
So we have we'll take a leaning and then we
We
have
take a
no.
leaning and give direction to the superintendent. That's fine.
So once again, our voices aren't going to count.
It's not a matter of our voices, Meredith. I mean, look, we have different opinions of this. Certainly, we don't want to
That's
harm
why we
children.
should vote on
But the
it.
thing is that this here, okay, we're doing in the late season. It's not a recommendation of the superintendent. He's already said that if the exam is going to hurt a student to the point where they're going to fail, okay, he's going to waive that exam so the student doesn't fail the class.
What if it hurts a student
So-
that
so I
won't
just-
get a scholarship that could have gotten a
Well-
scholarship? What if it does that?
Well,
And their family can't afford to send them to school
the
and they
reality of
can't
it
afford to
is-
come out with loans?
The
What
reality
would
of it is a child's going to go to a college and they're going to take something called an ALEX exam. Okay, that's a math exam that they have to pass in college before they could take a college level course. Okay, if a student doesn't pass that math exam, okay, they have to take a high school level math course before they can actually take a college level.
I'm not
course.
saying pass or fail. I'm saying affect their grade.
But I
Because there
have
are
the
children that 241 before COVID existed, which I can guarantee you that number is going to be more
I have the
inflated now.
Regis examination, Algebra 2, June 2023, chart for converting total test raw scores to final exam scores. I have it right in front of me. Okay, the exam is weighted as it is. So if you scored 86 on the exam, that converts to 100 on the exam. Right? The minimum raw score, okay, to get a 65 is a 28.
That's
okay?
on the Algebra 2. Is that
That's
on
the
every
Algebra 2
regions
exam.
that these kids took
Every
this year?
region exams is
Every
similar
one
to
is the
this.
same?
So if you
Okay.
went and downloaded the Algebra 1 or the trigonometry or whatever, you would see that. Furthermore, so if you take that 28, the raw score, and you divide it by the raw score of 86, the minimum passing score for a 65 on this exam is a 32%. A student has to score a 32 on his exam for it to count as a 65. So there's been some leeway from the state, in calculating, in creating a no harm to children. But, 32 on this exam out of 100 is what's necessary for them to pass with a 65. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's not like a kid's got to get a 65 or they fail, they have to take the course over. There's a lot of leeway in there. There is. I mean, my whole concern, and I'm going to bring up what Alex said last week because he said it so eloquently, is that are we doing damage by not holding kids accountable and sending them out into the real world, okay, where we're setting them up for failure, And I get what you're saying about COVID, but we did have 2 full years.
But I feel holding them accountable in a responsible manner, and this is more irresponsible because there are some things on this test that they didn't learn. One of the things that one of the children brought up to their parents, I asked a math teacher, and it's not an everyday thing that everybody would have learned. So how is that fair? It's not.
Once again, it's a weighted
And yes, the
exam.
world is unfair. Believe me, I've had my fair share of unfairness, but I just feel like we are harming our own children, and that shouldn't be. There's enough out there against them to begin with. they don't need it happening from us and our rules and regulations.
Alex, and then we'll come back to Stephanie.
I could certainly see both sides of this argument. I mean, I'm all for accountability and discipline and, challenging. If it was our staff, if it was our teachers, creating this exam, I would think completely different. I'm just so anti-state. I just don't think they know what's going on from Suffolk to Albany to Syracuse to Rochester. It's that they don't have their finger on the pulse. And I just, what I see now is no more kids are going to walk into the building and take an exam. So nobody's going to know anymore that the test doesn't count as much as they went in the last week and a half thinking it counted as 10%, right? They went in there thinking that. So now that that is over and we've continued this discussion, I truly feel to my core that if we're going to do it for a small group of students, whatever the percentage may be, we really should look at it and just do it for everybody and just continue the discussion and figure out how we can continue to fight the state and the regions, bring back the local diploma and have our local assessment matter more. But, the teachers who are worried about this and it's counting towards their APPR, no more kids are taking the test. The kids are not going to go in there and purposely fail it because it doesn't count anymore. They took it. The test today was hard. That social studies test a couple years ago was hard. There's tests that they're unreasonably hard. I'm all for hard. I'm all for, I preach to my guys that when we practice, it's when the gym is empty, it's going to be the hardest. That's, when nobody's looking, it's the hardest. What are you doing when nobody's watching? Not when you go take the test, not when there's the game. But this is now, these exams are just so useless. And I hate to say this on the live stream, but all the kids that go to school outside of the state, nobody cares about the Regents diploma. And the state is just so out of touch that, the kids took the exam already. If we're going to do no harm for a small group, we should just do it for everybody.
Stephanie?
Judging children during the COVID years isn't fair. It's an outlier. So I wouldn't look at what they did during the COVID relief and do no harm and judge them how they would act in the future, because we weren't having a normal school session whatsoever. I don't think anyone in the country or the world was acting as if it was normal. So they weren't rising to their potential at all because we were under massive stress of dealing with, a global pandemic. With that said, I also go from the guidance from the state, which normally mandates things, and they're suggesting they recommend that we don't use it to harm our kids. So I really think that we are harming our children because we're giving them a grade on something that other competitive schools do not use to grade their kids by.
Any other questions? I have a couple questions to Dr. Pelletieri. Is that this late in the game, how does this affect how we report the scores, and how does it affect the potential for a high population of teachers that may end up in a TIPS program? Is there any monetary responsibility now for retraining and providing those services for teachers that otherwise that would have now be in the TIPS program?
Yeah, I will be honest. I don't know how many teachers have their grades in already. I don't know how many then therefore have that grade calculated again already. So they'd have to go back. We would have to, at a global level, go back in, change the calculation for everybody, and then rerun all the grades that are in currently. I don't even know if we can do that. I would have to research that. Obviously, I'd have to talk to our people that do that in the district. Potentially, if more kids fail, you would have a lower APPR scores for teachers, and you could potentially have more teachers having tips. To Alex's point, I think the kids have taken the test, and then therefore I would hope that you would imagine it wouldn't impact anybody this year because they all went in thinking it was 10%. I did want to say that many districts around us do 5, 10, even 20% of the Regents as their final. Districts around us, I know, do that. And I will say that, I don't speak for all the teachers or all the administrators, but I will say that the majority of the teachers and a great many of the administrators feel we should have this policy of around 10% for the Regents.
For the Regents or just the final exam?
No, for something's got to count, at the end that the Regents,
doesn't
there is
have
no
to be-
final exam, as you know, in those courses that end in Regents.
But
So-
if we change the policy,
We'd have to,
we'd have to negotiate that, and then what we would do is submit it for approval. Many school districts, to your point, do count the final exam as 20% of the course grade. Okay, but the thing is to everybody's point, counting an exam that is not written by us, okay, may not be the fairest thing, but at this particular point, that's what our agreement is. So
our
the question
APPR plan is
that,
based on that. That's
you know,
correct.
And that's why I'm saying, next year, what we should do is have our directors write localized exams, and we should give local exams to our kids, and have, and once again, I mean, have students work hard to pass those exams. I mean, teachers are flexible. There's extra help sessions. There's a lot of different things, that students can go to get that extra help that they need. Teachers do a great job at that. But your recommendation is to limit it to students that would be impacted by a failing score. A student that maybe is sitting at a 66 and this drops into a 62.
At this late date, yes.
Laura?
So I'll go along with Dr. Pelletieri's recommendation, but I still want to reiterate, and I just don't think I'm getting the message across, that if a kid fails a Regents, doesn't mean they're not trying. If we say Regents will only help you improve your grade, the better you do on it, but we're not going to hold it against you, I don't think kids are going to walk in, not study, and not try. Abigail Bandel graduated valedictorian here 5 years ago. She studied, but she's also genuinely, anybody who knows her, very smart. Last month, she just graduated with her master's from Binghamton biomechanical engineering program, again as valedictorian, highest grade point in her class. If I or you, Rob, or you, Dr. Pelletieri, were to take her class or her final right now, we would not be able to score probably above a 30. That's how some of our kids feel sitting in front of a state test. That's why Sachem has been a leader in opting out, 70, 80%. We do not believe in state tests. We believe in our teachers. We believe in what they teach our students. And we believe they are the ones who should be assessing our students. So assessing our students based on a Regents, I know it's a late date. I've been a broken record saying this. I just don't think it's the right thing to do for our students. It's a late date. If a kid is going to fail, they should not be failing based on a Regents. Thank you.
Did somebody else on here have a comment? Sabrina, and I'll come back to you.
So I said this at the last meeting. I do not agree with using a standardized test averaged into the child's grade, but we did agree upon this. I don't have the date offhand. I know Dr. Pelletieri brought it to us at a board meeting. Mrs. Hines put out a letter. I think if the discussion should have happened then, all of us at the last meeting said that it's too late in the game. We felt it was too late in the game to change things. And I think the fairest thing right now is we want to make sure kids don't fail due to the Regents. So then I would like to follow that. And then not before the school starts, I would like to have a plan in place in terms of what we're going to do in terms of the Regents, looking at the APPR of how we're going to do that, and then also have the GPA, how that's being calculated, set prior to the school year beginning. And just really be proactive and start the year with everybody knows what's the expectations, what their midterm's going to count as, what their final's going to count of, or the Regents if we're counting, whatever the board decides, and go from there. I just think, and I always want to go on the end of what benefits the students, but also as a teacher, I could speak. My grade book is done, turned in. Like, I would really have to go back into where I stored it in the main office, find it, basically shred everything and start from the start. And again, if that's what the board feels we should do, we do it. But at the same time, I think that we've had plenty of opportunities to change it. I think the ninth hour just to kind of, to change it. I don't think it's the best move, even though I do agree with it. And I think that's why we have to take this summer and really put those three things into place so that we start the year, so that we're not constantly having these discussions that keep getting put off to the last minute. And we're scrambling to make things work for the students.
Stephanie?
I hope this is my last comment on this. The curve just shows how ineffective of a tool it is to use at all. if you have to, if you're getting a 32 on something and then passing, what are we doing? Like, why are we even giving our kids this? It's basically
And
garbage.
Stephen, that's the problem with the state. They set these high standards. They come in with these goals. They can't achieve those goals, but the only way they can achieve the goals is to lower the standards.
I don't think it's
And that's
lowering standards,
cla-
though. I think they're not giving an
Well, they're
appropriate
lowering
test.
They're lowering the passing requirements. So if they
Right.
held it to when we were in school, what was passing grade? 65.
Right.
There was no curving of these exams. They came and said, look, race to the top. That was a new thing. We're going to make sure we're going to get that $700 million in state aid for New York. All went to New York City and private organizations. We got $70,000 here to implement, race to the top. And at the end of the day, they knew that they couldn't raise student performance, okay, by keeping that minimum grade of 65. So they lowered it. So you're right. The state is doing harm to kids. We're not,
But they're telling us not to use it.
No.
That's our thing, is they're recommending we do not use it.
But-
So
but
if
he-
it
but
is
here's the
harming our
thing that's-
kids, why are we?
here's the
I'm not
problem.
arguing, I'm just
No,
devil's
I'm not
advocate here.
arguing. Here's the problem we have. I was on the board when APPR had to be submitted by a certain date. It was presented to us that, look, you could participate, you don't have to participate, but if you're not going to participate, you're not going to be privy to the $700 million that we got. So the decision was made by the board, well, let's try and take advantage of that money. You could opt out. The state said
Right.
you could opt out of Race to the Top and not have to comply with it, okay? And when we went to go opt out, we realized we weren't getting a lot of money. The state said, no, you can't opt out. Okay. On top of that, we had to submit it by a certain date. I remember meeting Gail Grenzick in the parking lot at Samoset to sign the paperwork so it could be overnighted to the state. Okay. And the reality of it is when they set the criteria back then, it had to be a Regents exam, okay, to calculate a teacher's performance score. It had to be a Regents exam. So not only did they not give us the opportunity of opting out or backing out of the $70,000 that it cost us 10 times that to implement, but they changed the rules as they always do while they're writing the curriculum.
So how fair is that to
So,
our
but now,
teachers?
from my understanding is
But how fair is it to use that tool to judge our teachers
they
as
set
well?
they set the criteria. They've since my understanding is we use localized final exams at my school. Right? They could say, look, you have to use an industry written exam by the American Culinary Federation or National Restaurant Association. They basically said, no, you know what? You could develop a local exam and you could use it. So they've since changed it from when we implemented the policy way back when. I suggest, and Laura, I don't think anybody disagrees with you. I think it's unfair. I mean, I don't want you to think that I don't disagree with you. I don't think using a Regents exam Well, listen, statistics show, we know, okay, that when we had a no harm policy, Dr. Pelletieri shared with us, the grades significantly dropped.
That was during COVID.
Once again, it's human nature. If you send kids into an exhibition game and they know it doesn't count, you don't get the same performance out of those kids when they play in a championship game.
I'll respectfully disagree regarding the do no harm was done during COVID. I don't think kids walk into a Regents, know they needed to pass it to graduate or not, are going to bomb it. That's just what I think. I have more faith in kids.
Yeah. Okay. I guess my 31 years in education, I guess I learned nothing from Laura.
So we'll
All right,
just
so,
agree to disagree.
yeah, Meredith.
I just feel that exactly what you and Stephanie both just brought to the table, both the words that came from both your mouths are exactly why this school district has no business keeping that Regents as 10%. And okay, if it's a moot point at this point, late in the game, can't go back, can't do whatever, we can ask our kids to change 15 different ways during COVID. Oh, we're going to do it this way. No, we're going to do it that way. Oh, we're going to change. Oh, we're changing on the fly. You guys got to get with the program. We all got to change. If we're not going to ask that of our staff, and I'm going to be blunt, I know it's a hard thing to ask, and I know that there's going to be letters against me, and there's going to be teachers hating me, and there's going to be plenty said about me on Sachem Moms, I'm sure. But if we can ask our kids to change everything that they've ever known on the fly on a Monday, and then Tuesday we say, whoa, no, totally change that. Why can't we do this right now? But it's not, I can't make a motion apparently. My vote won't count. We won't be voting. So I just want you to know that I don't think we have any,
We could take a leaning, is exactly
I
what I
don't think
said
we
to
have
you.
any business holding these state tests against these children, whether it's a child who will fail or a child who will just not do better in that class for the end of the year. Because some children take their grades super seriously, and some kids went into these tests a nervous mess, and some kids just did not do as well as they could have. And they did not do as well as they did in the entire year because they had a great teacher and their teacher did great things with them. And 90% of the great things that their teacher did with them, they went and they took the test and it wasn't on there. So it's not fair to hold that against them. And I know it's going to cause havoc at a late hour, but we've caused a lot of havoc in the past few years on a lot of different fronts. I think we can do it again.
Stephanie?
I will not say that I'm done because I'm not. We're in a mental health crisis, and to judge kids by one test, one day, 1 3-hour block, unless they have extended time, isn't really fair. When if they did work and gain, say, a 90, and their dog died the day before, their grandpa was in a car accident, whatever. I'm not putting it out there. I'm just saying that to judge children on that small of a snapshot when we do such great things here at Sachem, I don't see the need for counting it, but I understand the pain in the butt it would bring.
Okay, so we have two options, and we'll take a leaning, and we'll go right down the line. The recommendation of Dr. Pelletieri at this late hour is to change, or not count the grades that affect the kids who's going to fail the course based on the Regents exam, which may be a limited number of kids, okay? Or the recommendation from some board members is to eliminate, calculation of the Regents exam in the final grade, which would require us to go back and see if it's
If it
even
hurts.
see if it's even possible to.
If it hurts, if it harms.
If it hurts them. So, Michael, Ms. Cerny, where are you at? Yeah, turn your mic on.
So I've been listening very intently to this whole conversation. And I tend to agree with Sabrina. I think we had this conversation already. I think we had decided on something that provided the guidance that they used, I guess, to this point. Although the only question I have for Dr. Pelletieri was that your plan would be to only for students who would have failed the course due to a lower Regents score. We won't do that. We'll
Due to the application of the 10%.
Right. But that's regardless of how the students classify general ed. This would be all students. Okay. I do recognize the problem you talked about, Rob. I think I know I sent a bunch of the proposed resolutions already to you ahead of schedule. One of them was to decouple Regents exam, actually decouple any standardized scores from an APPR rating. I think that's talks to what we were just saying about how that's being used in a inappropriate manner to judge a teacher's competence. But today is June 21st, and we're going to be graduating classes tomorrow at 5:00. I think we gave them direction. I think we should stick to that direction we gave them. But I agree with Sabrina that I guess July 5th is our first meeting. Going to be that at that meeting we should start the discussion right then and there about when we're going to apply standardized testing, if we're going to apply standardized testing, and what policy will apply standardized testing at that point for the following years. So I'm going to say I lean towards leaning. My leaning is to go with Dr. Pelletieri's recommendation.
My leaning is for do no harm for all students starting right now.
Laura?
I'm going to support Dr. Pelletieri's recommendation because I failed as a board trustee in not pushing this harder when I should have. I brought it up in October about the GPA, and I didn't continue bringing it up and pushing it harder. So that does not fall on administration. That falls on me as a board trustee. So I'll support the superintendent's recommendation.
Sabrina?
I agree. I'm going to support the superintendent's recommendation, and I want to look towards a no harm starting and have the discussion immediately in the summer.
Alex?
I don't want my vote to look like I don't support Dr. Pelletieri. I fully support Dr.
Don't take that
Pelletieri.
in any way. I don't take that in any way.
Full support, but my issue is that, before this year, it was do no harm, do no harm. What was it? 3 straight years of do no harm. And now this year, we don't want to call it harm, but it could be harmful. And then next year, maybe we change it back. I just don't see how that's fair for all students. Like, this is going to affect, whether it be the college that the kid wants to get into or a scholarship or whatever, it could affect some kids. And I don't know how we could pick and choose and say, okay, well, we'll make sure we pass this group of kids, but you went from an A to a B, it's no big deal. I can't put 2 and 2 together. So, and I agree with what Sabrina said as well. We need to have this conversation in depth more, but tonight I'm for do no harm for the kids.
Stephanie?
I 100% agree with Alex's statement, and also record this. Oh, it is being recorded.
It's Wednesday, June 21st, 8:40. Stephanie agrees.
I also need to say that I was under the impression that we were mandated to count the regents into a kid's grade until just recently. So with that said, we didn't have all the information when we made the other decision. Had I known it was optional for each district, I would have advocated back then. Now I know that, so I'm advocating for do no harm.
Vinny?
Yeah, so tonight I'll support Dr. Pelletieri's recommendation, but again, I want commitment that early July, we're going to hit this thing and have a really good discussion. And before the school year starts, we've got to have clarity, right? And you made a point about our next meeting. Did we ever approve a calendar for the next set of board meetings? Because I don't think we did. Okay.
Yeah, we did. We're revising that calendar. So the next date, I believe, is July 12th, actually, because many people are away that week of July. It's the day after July 4th. It would have been July 5th. So it's on the calendar right now for July 12th. And I'll just offer this. We don't want our administrators making a decision in a vacuum by themselves. It is not, we will attempt to get parents, students, staff in to weigh in on this. I don't want to delay anything, but I just also want to make sure that we have conversations with people who need to be at the table. And certainly teachers and administrators should be the administrators are here. The teachers aren't always here. We'll reach out, but I can't promise I think we'll get some probably, but obviously we can begin that discussion as soon as possible.
Okay, and just for the point of record, I agree that the Regents exam should not count, okay, moving forward, and that we should create localized final exams, okay, but also that accountability piece is making sure that we're able to assess the knowledge that was taught during the year, and it has to have some weight. I mean, going back to what Dr. Pelletieri, there's many districts that count this 20%. We used to be at 20, we dropped it to 15, now we're at 10. So we've come down from where we were, but I'm going to support Dr. Pelletieri's recommendation to do no harm to the students that would actually have a course failure based upon the Regents exam. All right. So I think you have direction, Dr. Pelletieri?
Yes, I'll make sure that we apply that and work with our staff tomorrow to make sure that that's in place.
And if you could add to the 12th agenda,
Of course.
a discussion. It's going to be a long meeting. It is the reorg meeting, plus
It's the reorg also, yes.
Yeah, a regular meeting. So if we could add maybe just that one discussion, so we can get the ball rolling, moving forward, so we have clarity. Yeah, we could. It's not on the agenda. We could certainly.
That's going to be on the agenda for the 12th also.
Oh, we
Yes.
said that was going to be the first
Yes.
meeting in July. Yeah.
I actually put it tonight again, just so we would recognize that we are moving forward with that. We have some to review, and that the full discussion of the resolutions would be July 12th.
Okay, next discussion item is the potential mascot resolution. And Dr. Pelletieri, if you could bring us up to speed on what's happened,
Sure.
and the phone calls you made.
I asked Mr. Venator to put together a resolution as per the state regulations regarding mascots. I did reach out to Mr. Frank, who is in charge of this at State Ed. I emailed him yesterday. I'm sure he's a very busy individual. I asked him to reach out to me in terms of our charge the last time, like, tell us what we need to speak to us. Tell us what we need to do. I did not hear from Mr. Frank as of yet. I will email him again and continue to reach out to him, but I was unable to do so since our last meeting, unable to get a hold of him. But Mr. Venator, you sent us some language around a potential general, very general type of advisory resolution. And I know, Mr. Reynolds, you looked at it as well and helped with some of that language. Chris, you had mentioned that either one would be suitable at this time.
Yeah, I know Trustee Reynolds made some changes. I thought they were good changes. So I'm not sure how you want to proceed, Dr. Pelletieri. You want to just?
Can we read it aloud?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have? Hold on. Go ahead. No, it's on for the for discussion.
We wouldn't be approving Mike tonight. It would be, I guess, official. Would it have to be?
Well, it has to
officially
be
approved?
done before July 1, right, Chris?
Yeah, we have to do it tonight.
We'd have to do it tonight.
You're not. I wouldn't recommend that you wait, but that's a board decision. Yeah, just that we have a regulation that says we're supposed to consider this resolution by the end of this school year. So my recommendation is that you adopt the resolution tonight.
Again, we think there are community chance that way in. Mr. McCullough was here, he's still here, and he knew because he knows.
Well, he knows because we put it on the agenda. Yes.
Well, it's been on the agenda several weeks now, Mike, right? The past two meetings, we've had this on the agenda.
It's not an action item.
Listen,
You're not legally precluded from acting upon this resolution tonight if you wanted to.
I have a question.
yes, yeah, Mr. McGraw.
Oh, let's not go.
It
there
wouldn't be a
first.
motion, it
Let's-
wouldn't be a motion from the floor.
Let-
It would be a resolution, okay? We've gone out of exec session, we've made resolutions.
I think it's a matter of semantics. We did talk about it at the last meeting, that we were going to be putting on this resolution and having a discussion about it. I know there's some opposition, but I think it's something we need to consider, and I think we need to consider it tonight. It'd be my recommendation.
So I'm the some opposition, so I have a couple of questions. So you keep saying we have to do this, we have to do that. I just want to be clear for us, for the public, for everybody. Was Sachem specifically told that we have to put a resolution up? Was this sent to every school district in New York State and every school district has to do this?
No.
Okay. So
We
hold
have
on.
a-
Go ahead,
Let me
I'm
see if
sorry,
I
go
can
ahead.
answer. We have a regulation that I'll read the pertinent part out loud, which says that boards of education must commit via resolution to eliminating use of all indigenous names, logos, and mascots by the end of the 22-23 school year. And then, in another part of the regulation, it defines indigenous, the definition is indigenous name, logo, or mascot means a name, symbol, or image that depicts or refers to indigenous persons, tribes, nations, individuals, customs, symbols, or traditions, including actual or stereotypical aspects of indigenous cultures used to represent a public school, including but not limited to such schools' sports teams. It does not include a public school, school building, or school district named after an indigenous tribe. So what this envisions is that if school districts are supposed to self-monitor, and if there's a possibility that it will be determined that a particular school district has an indigenous name, logo, or mascot, you're supposed to adopt a resolution. By adopting a resolution, it wouldn't mean that you're going to eliminate it. It just means that if you are directed ultimately by the Board of Regents or the New York State Education Department, then we would commit to making changes. Based upon everything that we've seen in terms of the media, et cetera, where Sachem has been identified, that doesn't mean that's the final decision, but I think it means it would be prudent at least to adopt a resolution, and then after we follow up with this advisory group, and we can have some input, you can ultimately make a determination. But in order to be in compliance with the regulation, I'm suggesting that you adopt a resolution in case you do have to make a change. Maybe you don't, but the law requires you, if it's possibility based upon your name or your mascot or your logo, that you should adopt a resolution.
And I appreciate that lengthy response, but my issue is that, and I won't refute that the names of our buildings are of Native American culture and history, but I will refute the origins of the Flaming Arrow. I mean, I would challenge anybody to do any type of research that 900 AD, that the ancient Asian culture has flaming arrows. I have pictures that I could send that I put in to artificial intelligence, and you type in the history of the flaming arrow, and it's not a Native American. It's clearly somebody of Asian descent. I believe that by putting this resolution on the table and voting it, we are raising the flag to the state. We are saying, yes, we believe that the flaming arrow is Native American, and I would challenge anybody historically and with fact that that is not where it came from. It's not. And we could do this until the cows come home, but I appreciate your responses, and I appreciate your stance, but you are telling the state by this resolution that our flaming arrow is of Native American descent, and I say no. And I say that any history book and any online publication and anything that you look at is not. It's just not. And we could have a history lesson, and we could certainly challenge the state to do their own research and prove to us that that's where it came from, because I don't see any Asian groups coming out to say you need to get rid of that. This was about Native American names and symbols and Massapequa and Manhasset and Wantagh and all different, and Compsawag. I don't see us. I really don't. I'm sorry. I don't support this.
Vinny, and then we'll come back to Meredith.
So, Mr. Venator, just with regards to the resolution that we were kind of going back and forth with, if we were to add some language in it, and I'll read it, right? Be it resolved that in the event the New York State Education Department and/or the Indigenous Mascot Advisory Group, after consultation with the Sachem Central School District, right, determines any logo pertaining to Part 123 of the regulation of the commission, well, could we do that? Which we're not naming flaming arrows, right? We're not admitting any of that. We're just sort of pointing to after consultation and any logo pertaining to that directive. Because I think it's important, we have to have consultation with them, right? Again, we're just sort of, they should come down here and walk our 15 plus 2 other buildings that we have, 17 buildings, and tell us exactly what they feel needs to be changed, right? So if we can add maybe some of that language, it's sort of broad enough, right, where we're not locking ourselves in. Because again, Flaming Arrows, if we had our New York State Flaming Arrows marching band in here with a very modern logo, right, which why should we have to give this up, right? This should be, that's a very modern logo. It's a flaming arrow, right? So I don't know if if that language could be added in or just something to consider.
It's certainly up for discussion. If you want to change it or modify it, we can do that.
Meredith?
I appreciate, as the attorney, you're always erring on the side of caution. And I appreciate that you're telling us that we are supposed to adopt this resolution by July 1st, and we don't have another meeting until July 12th. To Mr. Isarnia's point, it should have been properly on here, and if it's not, I don't feel like we should be adopting the resolution. But in the words that you read to us, it says possibly determined Indigenous persons, tribes, nations. And I don't think that we fit the bill. So I don't think that Dr. P's alma mater of the Carl Place Frogs, right? I don't think they're adopting a resolution. I'm a Baldwin Bruin. I don't think Baldwin is adopting a resolution. So I don't feel like we are in that same category. It says nothing about, it says you can keep the names of your buildings and your school district. If it said something about the names of the buildings and the school district, then I would agree that we are in there and we should be doing something with the resolution. But I don't think we need to act upon this because we're just like a frog or a Bruin.
Okay. Mr. Attorney?
I'd also remind this body very candidly that, well, that's a regulation. We have a statutory authority in the open meetings law to publish that resolution 24 hours before the meeting. And we've already had a lot of issues around the open meeting law. I don't want to be in potential violation of that again. So I don't think there's any harm in waiting until July 12th.
Just objection. I don't think we've had any issues with open meetings law. We've had accusations about that. We haven't had any issues with it. Let's get it straight, right? Thank you.
allegations of this body by some people that violate open meetings laws, let's rephrase that. But we all know now that we did not publish that resolution 24 hours before. The community has not had an opportunity. I would tell you that statutorily, that open meetings law said outright that regulation. That regulation can't force us to violate the open meetings law. So again, I would move that we talk about it. I do want to look at the verbiage again myself. And then we have to have another meeting before July.
They have
to do that. Otherwise, I think really there's no harm. We could put it on the agenda for July 12th. This is the same body. None of us are changing places. It's one, the same people are better debate this. So, that's my position.
Anybody, any other comments? Not good, Alex?
So to Meredith's point, if this was a regulation that came down and they said that every single school district in New York State needs to pass this regulation, then the commission would get together, then they would determine who. I truly believe that this regulation is going to be passed, and it puts us on a separate list because we passed it. And I know maybe then we're not going to vote on it tonight, and that's fine, and I'm fine with not doing it at all, because I think at some point if the commission gets together and determines that we are, I hope that we have a chance to challenge it, but I don't believe that passing it, like there's at some point, if Longwood, the Lions, if the Smithtown Bulls, if all these other schools that I play that they don't have names of Native American, history like we don't, I could see the Brentwood Indians or the Massapequa Chiefs, which is Sachem, which is the Grand Chief. I could see them having to do it because of what their logo is. But I truly believe the history of the Flaming Arrow has nothing to do with Native American culture. And I think that we should really educate ourselves. And I encourage all my fellow trustees to look it up themselves. It's all over history books. It's all over the internet. If you Google it, go to town, because it's just not there.
Yeah, Stephanie?
We attached Native American feathers to a lot of stuff on our logos here. That's really the issue. I love Vinny's idea of adopting this new logo or something similar. But can the resolution state that we're just going to remove the feathers? Do we have to remove the flaming arrows? And then we'll fit the bill, and then we can discuss how we go forward after that, because we definitely have to remove the Native American imagery.
Well, I think you want to not just limit it to one aspect. I think it's better just as broad, but if we can adopt, language that includes, Trustee Reynolds suggested that we have consultation, and we plan on having that. But I don't know if you want to limit it to just one aspect in case there's more involved.
Well, whatever the legal words
You'd have
would
to
be
say a
cover
plan,
that.
that we would have a plan, that we
Right.
put a plan in place. I would hesitate to start putting in specific anything at this point.
But then so we don't have to mention flaming arrows.
We don't have to mention
any
anything
of it.
in that. We mentioned that we would put a plan
Because
together.
I would like
We
to
were
be in
directed to-
compliance, but not agree to changing things that might be able to be adjusted to not be offensive.
Right, just so you know, the resolution that's being contemplated doesn't say that you're going to change logos or mascots. It doesn't specifically say it. It just says if you are directed or if it's determined that you have to. It doesn't say that you are right now. It's after a review, if it's determined that you have to. In that event, you're going to form a committee.
From the meetings we went to, it's pretty serious. It's being taken very serious. So I almost think that's a blow off if we don't make a plan, and may possibly become a target just because of that. That if we had a plan, we're not admitting to anything, but we're also going to make things better. Does that make sense? I do not want to poke the beast if it's going to fall out on us because we didn't follow what was being directed.
Listen, I'm hearing both sides of it. I agree with Alex in the sense that we were never directed, and I'll take it one step further. I mean, I did some research too. You go back to ancient Romans and the Moors and the Spaniards, and they all used flaming arrows, It stinks that the states put us in this position where we now have to expend taxpayer money to have to change our logo and affect our history and our traditions, you know? And and I have to be honest, when I went to high school, there was no feathers on the logo. There was no feathers on that arrowhead. It was a Kansas City Chief arrowhead that we actually received a letter from the Kansas City Chiefs to cease and desist, okay? Because we were stealing their logo, okay? But
We're
the
going to
thing
take
is
that
that-
part out of the minutes.
That just bolsters their argument. that It's a Native American imagery.
But the thing is that I agree. I mean, unless we're told that we have to do it, okay? I'm concerned about raising a flag and notifying them that we think we might be guilty, or we think we might be.
So that's why if we make the,
So if we're going to do a resolution, the resolution
broad.
would just be to be in compliance,
Yeah.
so that they can't say to us, look, you weren't in compliance with the whole thing. And then we wait for direction from them. But this is another example of the state building the airplane while it's in the air. You know, no specific direction or guidance as to which schools have to do it. And the fact that, you know, we're sort of being, you know, directed to do this because News 12 put our logo on their you know, news brief, or CBS put our logo and just kind of threw us into the group. To me, a flaming arrow is not a derogatory logo. It's not, you know. You know, if we have to amend the logo a little bit, you know, to maintain our culture, maybe go back to how it was in the 80s. And I don't have a problem with that, but to Mike's point, I think it should appear on an agenda so people can come out and vote on it. You know, we that was the guidance from the state going back last year. You know, if we're going to do it by the date that, you know, in order to be in compliance, we would have to schedule a meeting on like July 20th, which would be next Wednesday, and it would be for this item only. And that would give the community enough time to come out and certainly partake and give their comment, public comment. Benny?
Yeah, so just one comment. So again, Mike, if you want to take a look at the language, you know, I've proposed a couple of changes to make it very broad, so we're not calling out any names, because again, we don't think our name is an issue here, right? Make it broad and after consultation. So if you want to take a look at this,
I would just rather prefer to put on July 12th.
no, that's fine. So between now and whenever we do it, I think we have to do it by the end of the month. So if we have to have a sort of a special meeting next week to do it, we
Why 10 days?
Yep.
I don't think anybody's going to get us at a doorstep on July 5th saying we can do it.
No.
Let's just get on the agenda for the next week.
Listen, whatever the recommendation from legal counsel is to do before July 1st, if the board is saying, look, we'll roll with that, we'll do it July 11th at our next meeting, then we'll put it on there. I agree with you. I don't think they're going to be knocking our door down for not having that resolution. But at least we're having a discussion. You know, Alex, and then we'll come back to.
I'm just concerned that we don't need the resolution at all. That schools that believe that they do not have a harmful logo will not do this resolution. And if the state calls us, say, well, wait a second, you never told us that we were in this group. We didn't believe that we were in this group. Now, if you're telling us, that's one thing, but we don't believe that. I don't know why we're putting ourselves in a position, whether it's nondescript or not. We're putting ourselves in a spot to self-report that we should be part of this group that I don't believe we belong in. I really, truly don't. And I encourage, at minimum, 5 of my board members to really, you know, think about it between now and before we have a special meeting, or before we do it for July 12th, or whatever we want to call it, because I truly, truly don't believe we need this.
Meredith, and we'll come back to Laura.
So I understand that they're saying that if you believe you're in this category, we must receive your resolution by July 1st. So we don't believe that we're in this category. We can't even get the guy on the phone to verify whether we're in the category or not. So, you know, if we can't speak to somebody and we can't figure things out in a timely fashion, then how can they expect us? I will go on record as a board member right now. I do not believe that we are in this category. I do not believe I should pass a resolution. I do not believe I should be talking about a resolution. I do not believe it until somebody else tells me otherwise.
Laura?
So just for me to weigh in, everybody knows on the board 10 years. Legally, I've always felt I had to uphold my role as board trustee, follow the law, follow regulations, even when I didn't agree with it. I do not believe we're in the category that we have to pass the resolution. I said it last meeting, I'll say it next meeting, I'll say it on the 12th. I just don't believe we're in that category. And if they come and say we are, then we are. To Stephanie's point, should we go back to using the arrow that was used when my sisters went to school here and do some of those things on our own? Yes, I do. But do I think we need to pass a resolution? I don't, because I don't think we're in that category.
Any other comments? So no action will be taken on this tonight. It did not appear on here as a resolution.
Yeah, that's completely my fault. We had it as discussion last time, and we didn't get to finish that discussion, so I moved it to discussion this time, and I did not move it to an actionable
So
area.
the
So
only
that's
thing
my
that it
fault.
comes to is whether or not the board wants to call a special meeting, okay, or just wait until the 11th. That's where we're at.
I will continue do my due diligence in attempting to reach folks at State Ed in regards to this and see if we are in fact a group, an entity that they believe needs to adopt this resolution. So we'll know once and for all whether or not they feel that that's what you asked me to do last time. I attempted to do that. Again, I did not get a response. I will continue to attempt to do that, and perhaps we'll get something by the 30th, and perhaps then we'll know whether we are supposed to still have something by the 1st, or we can wait till the 12th, or perhaps they will say to us, we will let you know, since you didn't believe that you were, you don't have to have it done by the 1st, you can adopt by the 12th, because we've sent you this letter dated July 2nd that says you are one of those groups that we feel needs to do this. So there might be some safety in that, Chris. I am concerned, obviously, about us not meeting, regulations by the date, which is penned in law.
Right. I just want to add one thing if I could. One of the reasons why we didn't put it on the agenda is that we knew that there would be a lot of different opinions on what the wording would look like. So we wanted to have a draft, the board could look at it, and then we would have a discussion tonight. So I think that was part of the thinking why we didn't put the exact wording on the agenda, that we would have a discussion about it tonight.
Well, for the record, whichever one we adopt, it should be as vague as possible. If we are going to adopt it, it should be as vague as possible. The way you said, if we're directed to, we will have a plan in place, I would keep it, to that level, but, I guess, Chris, other than trying to notify them by phone, have we sent anything to them?
Oh, yeah, no, I've actually switched to email, so I have a record of it.
All right. Is it warranted that we send a certified letter to Mr. Frank?
I
So
guess
that we know that
we
you
could
received it?
I guess we could potentially.
Well,
do that.
has he responded to your email?
No, I sent him an email yesterday, midday around then, saying I need to speak to you. I have a procedural question. Could you give me a call? And I haven't received one or an email back. So I don't want to, who knows what's going on in that gentleman's life, but I will continue to do that daily.
I just
Yeah,
don't
probably
think we
if
do
we-
anything until we're told. I
What's
think
that?
it's a totally different story that when we're told directly, that's different. I think we should wait until we're told. During COVID, if it said suggested or recommended, we weren't doing it. We were not doing it. So I think we should just stick with that. And when it was mandated, and when it was a regulation, and when it was a law or what were they calling it? It wasn't a law, it was called something else.
Guidance.
Yeah, it was called something else, but then we were doing it because and I'll speak for myself. I would never put the district in harm's way of losing state aid. I would never do that. But we were not told. We have not been told. And this is like going to the teacher and tattling. Like, I don't understand it. And when you didn't do anything wrong on top of it. So I think we should just table this, wait. And if he doesn't call us, I don't think we should keep calling him. Let's get the hint. She doesn't want to go out on Friday night. Let's just not do it.
Don't give up, Alex. Don't ever
All right,
give
so,
up.
Chris, you're going to continue to reach out to him. We'll
Yes,
have
sir.
hopefully some guidance or information by the 11th, okay, for our next board meeting.
If I get other information that we may need to meet on a special, we'll talk about that obviously
Absolutely.
also.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Stephanie?
Can we get some sort of logo like this, like mocked up, so that if you have a productive discussion with the state, you can show it to them and then possibly
I think we'd all have to
put
look at
this to
that.
sleep in bed.
I think we would need to put a committee together with alumni and current staff and current kids and
I mean,
alumni. We can't just do that ourselves.
We can easily put something together. Like it used to when Rob played ball, right? We had the arrowhead with no feathers. Like I
Where,
could
where does
easily-
that start? Where does the committee
So-
start then? Like,
yeah, so
we have to give them a charge, right?
But
So
part
why
of our,
wouldn't
part
we
of our
show?
resolution was that we would formulate a committee to adopt if we're directed to.
But we have to charge that committee with an idea, right?
Yep.
We don't just say to them, okay, make a logo. We would give
Well-
them guidance. But wouldn't we need that guidance from the state? So
Yeah,
if you said,
the state would say, I don't know if they're going to say, I want you to do, I don't know if they're going to tell us, I don't know.
like, you could show them an updated
We could, sure.
arrow and say, is this the direction we can
That was
go
the
in?
direction of the board. We could do that.
I just feel like we're dragging this poor horse, and not for fault of our own, but this is really painful. And if we can do something that's minimizes the emotions and the, whatever the correct word is, to show them. What if the state says, yeah, that's fine? And then we have such an easy job. It's not as big of a deal as we are making it out to be because we don't have the guidance.
Would it be to our benefit, Chris, to, when you send that email, to send that logo from,
I'm going to start with him, Mr. Scavo, respectfully. I think I need him to get on the phone, or talk with me via email and say, yes, Sachem, we are concerned about what you have, and you need to submit to us either what you have or develop your plan to formulate something different. Like I'd want them to tell us that before necessarily we send them anything. Like let's hear from them, and then we can have that at the ready. We can have that at the ready.
Sorry, during the meeting Sabrina and I went to, they said we could reach out to them. So it is upsetting that we're not getting feedback
They're not
back.
answering, yeah.
The state not responding, that sounds like something new for them. But I would hesitate to put a committee together, to put a new logo together, to do anything until we are directed. We could put the committee together after we're directed to.
Yeah, so that would be the next point is we're waiting for direction.
Okay.
All right. And then hopefully by the 11th, we'll hear something and then we could make
We've
that
given
decision.
3 dates for that meeting. That meeting is not the 5th or the 11th. It's the 12th.
The 12th.
Right
Did
now,
you-
the 12th.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you say the 12th before? I heard the 11th. All right.
Who said the 11th?
I don't know.
I think you did, Mr. Scavo. Yeah, it's the, am I right, Randy? I was going to say Allison. Thank you, Randy, for filling in tonight. Doing a great job. I appreciate it.
Okay, our next item is board discussion is the NISBA resolutions. We give direction
And
to.
yeah, again, that's not really, I put that there so you knew that that's going to be on the 12th. We do have language. We've been working with Mr. Isami after we directed him or asked him to do that for us. He provided some language for us. So I wanted you to know that is taking place. I don't know if you want to have any discussion. Obviously, that's for you tonight, but it is on the agenda for the 12th where we'll have them finalized for discussion.
And yes, Mr. Attorney? Yeah, in order to give us an opportunity to answer that question when it came up. So I don't think they give us the opportunity to actually speak on the security thing, right? If I'm correct?
Me personally, I didn't get to speak. So the person from Sayville, and I'm sorry, I don't have the name offhand, he went up to speak first, like that's who called. And then all of a sudden, everybody else had their hands up virtually, and they called on everybody in order. And once people started to say, we don't agree with this because of the cost that it could be towards the district, we don't want to, advocate for this. By the time I had my hand up, I was probably like 10, 15 in the queue, and then time ran out, and then everybody didn't vote for more time to have that discussion. So I never got back up to speak, and I don't think the person from Sayville even got the opportunity to speak a second time to clarify. So I think just focusing on the fact that this would function the way it's still as it does now, where the person is responsible for that, I think that wording would then clarify to the people who have to vote on it. I think the wording has to be the strongest in the resolution, not the people going to this to speak about it. Because I think just like we did, everybody went there with the yays and nays. I don't think there was many board members who went there and the board said, you yay or nay, whatever you want, where you guys gave me direction of what I was allowed to vote for, yes or no. So I think putting that in the resolution, clarifying it, will make more people saying, okay, this is something we should be on board with.
Okay. All right, so, Mike, you're going to continue with some of the other resolutions, provide them to the board. I would certainly encourage the board to weigh in as to whether or not they agree or disagree or what. So it's in all of them, okay. All right, so, so we're going to add this for discussion on July 12th, okay, and approval. So there would have to be a resolution for those.
Resolution July 12th, all right.
Okay. Future discussion items? All right, Meredith?
So we have graduation upon us, hopefully tomorrow and Friday. So I just want to put it out there to anybody who's watching. If we have a rain day, first of all, congratulations to all the kids who worked so hard to get to tomorrow and Friday. If we're rained out, what is the way that the children will be notified? And do you know by about what time they would all be notified? I know they probably went through this with their advisors, but maybe not everybody went home and told their parents.
We would do a school messenger to the senior class and the staff. Parents would get that via the school messenger. And we're going to certainly meet together, hopefully make a call. It's so hard, right? Because we desperately want to get it in. And if there's a window there where it stops raining and we can get out there with our 500 kids and have that, we'll bear a little bit of rain if we can get it started at least that way. And there's no danger, obviously, thunder and lightning. We are not going out in the metal bleachers if there is. But if we can get it in, we're going to work real hard to get it in. So it's tough to call it early, but we're probably going to get together around noon or so. And we'll put the map up on my office like we do when there's a snowstorm predicted. And we'll try to look at it, and we'll become meteorologists for a little while and see if there's some means by which we can get it in. If we can't, then Thursday at North becomes Saturday at 11:30. Oh, no, that's East. Whoa, I messed everybody up. Thursday at North would become Saturday at 9 a.m. and kids would arrive at 8:30. If we have to go to Sunday, we'd go to Sunday also. And if it's still raining Sunday, which, unfortunately, it is predicted to be a mess for the next few days, almost a week, we'd have to break it up into 3 different sessions at both the high schools on Sunday. So it's a problem. We will make sure we get all the information out as soon as we can tomorrow. And rest assured, we're going to do everything we can to get it in, even if it means we know at some point, 20 minutes and a half hour, and it might start to sprinkle on some heads. We'll survive it as long as it's not going to be dangerous.
Chris, can we do notification more than messenger? Can we put it on our Facebook or our website?
Sure.
Maybe on the main screen, because I know there are families that don't subscribe to the messenger app. So
Well, they would get it via email, phone call, text, and I'll make sure we do social media and website.
And the senior class advisors will send out a remind to their senior class students as well.
Great. Any other future discussion items? Stephanie?
Can we give the community the information on who to contact now in the stage of the charter school? Because, the Institute is probably not the one to email anymore, and that was our primary contact for people to give their opinion. Also, there's a board meeting of the charter school on Monday, the 26th. It doesn't say where it's going to be or the time yet. So they might be announcing that as well. And I'm not going to be here, and I would wish to have gone. So I don't know if anybody here would like to go, or I'm just sharing that information even to the community. So and can we have an update on what's our next steps? Because a lot of the community, they're looking for direction and they don't know what to do. And honestly, I don't know what our next step is either as a board or, as a community.
So I recognize we're in a bit of a holding pattern waiting for the SUNY Charter Institute to make public its decision. Is that correct, Chris? Has that been told to South Shore Charter School, what, their
I think
answer?
I think we're waiting for is the Board of Regents to act upon.
Yeah,
the-
SUNY Charter acts, and then.
The Board of
Board of
Regents
Regents, yeah.
then has to consider within 90 days. If they don't act either way, then it's approved. So it could be as much as 90 days, or they could officially act upon it.
So should the
and-
community be giving the Board of Regents their opinion? And who do they contact on that board?
Well,
There's a few of them.
I think we sent up to the state all of the information from your public hearing, so they saw that they have all of that.
Yeah, that went to SUNY, and then you're saying SUNY prepares their outcome and shares that with the regents also?
And they have 90 days in which to act upon it.
Okay.
Different information has come out since then, though, as well, like they have a new lease
Yeah.
somewhere else, so the community could say, why don't you, I'm not going to speak for the community, but the community could give their input on that to regents, because they're the second step. And didn't the regents already deny it once? That's why they went through the Charter Institute. And then it's going back to the regents. So it was originally applied to the Board of Regents. They denied the charter, so South Shore went to the second way you can get approved for a charter, which is the Charter Institute. Then it got approved, and now the move or the temporary location is now being brought back to the region. So I think community input would be very valuable in that situation, because then they can see that the community didn't want it to begin with, went somewhere else, that community doesn't want it, possibly. And then, so should the community be given, some sort of direction on whether they like it or not, or approve it or not, to email?
Chris, just a quick question on what Stephanie, I think, is saying is, we sent up a whole bunch of stuff that went up to the Charter Institute. That's correct. For them to make a decision as to whether or not they were going to grant that extra year's lease.
Correct.
And they rubber stamped it, and they said, yes, we're going to give them our recommendation is the 1 year lease. Did they forward that material to the regents?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. You would think that they should,
Yeah.
but I can't tell you definitively that they do.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not
the
sure.
answer, my suggestion to piggyback on what Stephanie's saying is that we should start sending something up to the Board of
Absolutely.
Regents to let them know that our community disapproved of the millionaire, even based on the fact that the SUNY Charter Institute did, approve it temporarily pending a consideration from the Board of Regents. We should be notifying them.
And 5, 10 hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know the time frame, but it was fairly quick. They went and signed another lease with another area after they said they needed a new temporary location. So to me, that changed the whole dynamic. You're saying you have nowhere to go, so we need to put it in Sachem. They rubber stamp that, and later that day, they sign a lease in CI. I mean, it just, to me, I think the community needs to, it's a shell game, in my opinion.
But that lease for that school is for when this lease is up in Ronkonkoma.
It was for 2024. The lease is
It
up
was
in
for this, so they're
Ronkonkoma.
currently leased Ronkonkoma and
They're on top of
NCI?
each other. From what I was told, they're on top of each other, but only, there's a 1 year gap, but they got approved for 2 years. In my opinion, why open it all and wait for your CI lease?
They got approved for 2 years, but I don't know whether or not they actually only have a lease with the Ronkonkoma facility for 1 year. Purportedly, they have a lease with the CI facility for 2 years, beginning in September of '24.
Attorney?
Yes, so as I understand it, Chris, they made an application to temporarily remain in station for 2 years. That was the application they made to the Charter Schools Institute. Charter Schools Institute read that application, and they approved that temporary incubation temporarily for no more than 2 years, and the caveat that if you weren't moved to St. Charles, at the end of those 2 years, your entire charter would be revoked. Now, that recommendation of the Charter Institute has to go to the Board of Regents to approve that recommendation. That would allow them to be here for 2 years. However, now I understand that there's a build-out question in centralizing, so they had to go into lease that property, start the building, and that's why there's overlap. But right now, if the Board of Regents approves that recommendation of Charter Schools, they will have to vacate Ronkonkoma at the end of that second year, or their entire charter will be revoked. So I think that's the motion you might be seeing now. I don't know if we want to actually run a campaign telling the board of regents, we don't even want you to approve that recommendation, only 2 years. I think it's pretty clear when we sent up there that we don't want that. I think we have to wait to see what the board of regents does. I don't know. That's how I understood it.
I just want the community to know that they weren't, in my opinion, it didn't look like they were advertising that it was a temporary location.
Well, that's something we talked about, right? We now know the names. The kids who are older than know, look, guys, that's going to be a temporary school. You got to come back to us.
The public too, though, because you don't want more kids registering thinking they're going to a K through 5 school, when in reality, they might be going to a K school and moving in a year, at the most, moving in 2 years.
I hope that's the message that they're trying to get from what we've
Well,
done so far.
Her hand was up over here? No? Vinny?
Yeah, just one comment on this. I know last time we talked about, I guess, Chris, there were invoices that they're sending us for the charter school, right? And I think we're not obligated to pay just yet, right? One of the things that kind of I thought about was, we've got to borrow money through the TAN, right, to kind of fund our operations. Why would we have to give them money today if we're borrowing money, right, just to run our school for the next 6 months until we get state aid? It's just something to think about, right? Why should we even send them any of our money now if we're borrowing money to run our schools, and then we're going to give them money that we're paying interest on? So just something to think about. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, we've already
Right.
decided we're not going to pay the
Right,
money
we're not
now.
gonna pay
Even
them
though it's-
anyway.
Even though they sent us the invoice.
Right.
We're not going to pay it. We're not even going to consider paying it until we get a final determination.
Right, even if the
from the Board of
determination comes
Regents.
out and we're still paying on our TAN, that's a problem, right? Because we're giving them money that we're paying interest on. So another just sort of wrinkle in this whole thing, right? So.
Yeah, so just one last thing I want to say to get back on what I'm hearing. I know Mike said, I think we need to wait and see. Okay, and I hate those 3 words, wait and see.
Yeah.
I think we need to do something now. I think we need to send a letter up to the State Education Department saying that, look, we disapprove of this. It's not something that would have ever been approved in Sachem. I know the recommendation from SUNY Charter is to allow the second year, but we disapprove it. Our community disapproves it only because we don't know what happens to all that information that went up. My guess is that SUNY Charter is probably not going to share it with State Education Department. So I would encourage certainly the community to send letters to the State Education Department. Perhaps maybe we should send a letter prior to that 90 days so that we're not all of a sudden trying to catch up to the decision that they make. I think they need to know now that we disapprove of it. We don't agree with it. We think it's going to negatively impact us. We know it's going to negatively impact us. And we want you to know, just in case you didn't get the material that we sent up, that our district highly disagrees with the approval of this 2-year lease.
Can you
2 year.
attach that material as well?
Let me jump in for 1 second, if you don't mind. I don't know that we sent everything to the Board of Regents. I know we sent it to the SUNY Charter Institute, but I know we have copies of everything. So I'll talk to Ed McCarthy tomorrow, or Chris, maybe you'll beat me to it, and we'll put that entire package together again with the letter, the videos, our board, our meeting, and all that, public comment, and send it directly to the Board of Regents also, just in case.
Should we tell the community that?
Yeah,
Like,
they
would
can.
that will be in a letter and they could add more emails if they'd like?
There's no public comment period now. We have those 78 or 93 emails. I think it was 90 something that we got. We'll include all
I
those.
understand. Okay.
And I will say, there's nothing stopping people from emailing the Board of Regents. That's who needs to get it.
Can we share that email? Are we allowed as a board or a
It's a
district to
public-
share that email?
Without a
Yeah.
doubt,
So
without a
then
doubt.
I
Let
would
me,
recommend that as a attachment.
I'm going to figure out how to push that out to everybody, right? But I will get it. I will get it out.
By the 12th, not now. I was asking for
No,
future
we're gonna do
discussion
that.
and it became a
We're gonna
current
do that
discussion.
immediately. We're going to do that immediately.
Thanks.
Vinny?
Different topics, so we sort of close out on this one?
Yeah,
Okay. So for future discussion, just a couple of things I think that fell off last year or this school year. One was the demographer study, right? We had that on the agenda. I think we took it off. So if that's something that we still want to consider to go through.
We had said we would do that this summer.
Yeah.
Revisit that. Maybe we'll put it on the 12th or make it a meeting from the
Yeah, well,
12th to
it'd
the
be a
13th.
24-hour meeting, right? So that's part of my.
We have those all the time.
Right, so
Yeah,
that's part of the other thing is we got to figure out how to streamline the meetings, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Couple other things, right? Armed guards. Let me rattle off a few things, right? I don't know where we stand with that. And perhaps on the 12th, we go through the whole list of things that we want to accomplish and plan out the year, right? Because there's certain things out there. We talked about a curriculum review, right? Over the next sort of school year, we're having department chairs come in, talk about the curriculum, being transparent with the community. I think that was sort of unanimous between the board and the administration. And I think that's it for now. I've got a couple other things I'll probably take out to exec, but those are just a couple of things here, okay?
Alex?
Not trying to start a discussion now. I just want to see a plan in place for the formation of committees and that we continue to move forward, at least for discussion purposes, for armed guards or not, or whatever we want to call this committee, school security, safety, whatever, so that at least we have a plan moving forward and we could get input from the community and put people on committees and however we're going to do that, what the plan is for that.
Yeah, I have someone from the FBI for the June 27th meeting, July 27th, July 12th meeting also?
Ay,
Ay, ay, ay.
12th is getting busy.
That's the only day
Yeah.
she's in town.
That's the only
It was
day.
just streamlining, Vinny.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
were gonna, you had asked me to, you had,
We have to,
You
we
had-
have to kind of put things in.
yeah,
you
we'll
know,
go
so-
back and look at the 12th meeting, but we did ask, you did ask me to start to put together a schedule, so we will have a security expert in September. I believe at the second meeting, we're gonna have an FBI expert in on July 12th. That was the only day we can get that person in. So I'm starting to build this. I spoke to our commissioner as well about trying to get him in. He said he's not going to make a public recommendation, but he'll have a conversation with us about that type of thing. So we're starting to put that together.
Right. Any other future discussion items? All right.
I don't think we should take any more future discussion items.
Definitely
At
not
least
for the 12th.
One
Yeah.
more for the
Yeah.
12th.
Yeah.
We're into
Um,
the 2025 school year already with all these items, right? So, yeah.
Our next meeting is July 12th, 2023. At this particular time, we need a motion to go into exec session, discuss the litigation made known to the Board of Education, regarding administration. Alex Picarillo, second. Meredith Volpe, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.